In my review of the Canon RF 28 to 70mm F2.8, I focus more on the photography side and how this lens performs in stills. This time around, I want to talk strictly about this lens and how it behaves when you shoot videos. Paired with the Canon R6 Mark II, this lens performs incredibly well. And most of the shots that I did were either indoors and outdoors in mixed lighting conditions. This review is not about specs on paper. It's about how this lens behaves and performs, especially when you are filming a moment that you cannot repeat. Consider subscribing and liking this video, share this content, and let's zoom right into it. My name is Abib. So why did I choose this Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8 for video work? For events and weddings, I need a lens that is flexible, fast and reliable, with incredible image stabilization and autofocus performance, as well as great image quality. The 28 to 70mm range covers almost everything I need without changing lenses. At 28mm, I can capture wide establishing shots and also crowd movement. And at 70mm, I can also zoom in and get tighter frames, emotional reactions, and details without stepping into spaces of other people. The constant f2.8 aperture is a big reason I trust this lens, especially for night events. This lens performs magically and greatly, especially when it comes to night shooting. But when it comes to the Canon R6 Mark II, I primarily pair it with this Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8. The Canon R6 Mark II is a strong video camera, especially when it comes to low light performance. It has never failed me. Even when I was using my Canon RF 24 to 105 f4 lens, it still performs really great, especially in low light. But with this Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8 lens, it becomes even more capable and fantastic with phenomenal image quality. The in-body image stabilization on the Canon R6 Mark II in conjunction with the stabilization on this 28 to 70mm f2.8, especially for handheld shooting, makes filming exciting and enjoyable. When I'm shooting weddings, I try as much as I can to also participate in the event and be more in tune with what the couples are doing. So when they are called onto the dance floor to dance, I'm also there with them with this Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8 and also dancing at the same times while filming. In-body image stabilization of the Canon R6 Mark II as well as the stabilization of this lens performs amazing. Dancing, movement, handheld shot are very natural and smooth. I don't do post-stabilization with my footages, and so you can see that the handheld movements are very smooth, they are natural, they are progressive in the kind of way that this lens is able to produce. And that gives me great footage that I don't need to work on excessively when I'm done shooting. And in situations like this, when moments really are unpredictable, especially shooting wedding events, it's just sheer masterpiece of its own class. Now let's look at low lights performance with the Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8, mostly indoors and outdoors. This is where the f2.8 on the Canon RF 28 to 70mm performs naturally best at its maximum. Mixed lighting situation, this lens lets in enough light to keep ISO under control. Outdoors at night, the lens still holds up remarkably. I did not feel like I was constantly being limited by the lighting situation because the f2.8 aperture range is enough to capture a lot of detailed shots and great image quality with the Canon R6 Mark II. The images are just impressive in low light performance. This lens gives such a confidence booster when shooting, even in poor lighting situation. And this lens for me, I think, has not let me down. Shooting various events, both for weddings and also for normal situation events, the Canon RF 28 to 70mm is just in a league of its own, especially with the price to value ratio. This lens performs absolutely incredible. Let's look at the autofocus performance in terms of video with the Canon RF 28 to 70mm f2.8. Autofocus is very critical for events and weddings, and this lens performs exactly how it is intended to be. With Canon's best-in-class dual-pixel autofocus performance, with the Canon R6 Mark II, RF 28 to 70mm f2.8 was spot on for face and eye tracking, especially when couples are on the dance floor, their movement and reactions, and especially when a lot of people or guests are also trooping in to be part of the ceremony. The Canon RF 28 to 70mm is able to track and sporadically able to follow the subject. I like the natural movement that this lens is able to do. I did not notice any distracting focus hunting, which is important when recording long clips. So the Canon RF 28-70mm, for me, I think the focusing on this autofocus is just really sticky. It is incredible, it is sharp, it is smooth, and does not produce any kind of noise. So I'm able to do this, especially when I'm shooting events and weddings. And this gives me confidence that this lens is never going to let me down when I'm shooting in this kind of important ceremonies and events. The image quality and look of the Canon RF 28-70mm f2.8. This is one of the reasons for which anyone would naturally tilt towards this lens, because they are looking for a very good image quality, and with the price to value ratio, the RF 28-70mm is just unmatched and unbeatable. The video footage from this lens looks clean and professional, something I've come to appreciate so much about the RF 28-70mm f2.8. The colors are consistent, contrast is balanced, and skin tones look natural. At f2.8, the background separation gives cinematic feel without being distracting. For weddings and events especially, this lens renders scenes in a very natural way that feels calm and polished rather than overly sharp or harsh. I really enjoy using this kind of lens to shoot in multiple event situations with different kind of lighting situations, with different skin tones that this lens is able to render and give natural female look, which I really like and appreciate about this RF 28-70mm f2.8. Most of Canon's lenses, especially the zoom lenses, are a little bit heavy, especially when it comes to f2.8 aperture. But this lens is just really amazing. The f2.8 aperture on this RF 28-70mm is lightweight and compact. You can also see it from this kind of showcase that I'm doing over here. It is extremely compact in size, and as a result of that, it helps for long shooting situations. When you are filming weddings for 5 to 6 to 8 hours, when you are standing on your feet, shooting events that runs over 4 to 6 hours, this RF 28-70mm performs amazing well. This made me to appreciate how comfortable it was to shoot with this lens. The balance on the R6 Mark II feels solid and absolutely nice to use. Even when I've rigged my R6 Mark II to become like a heavy camera, the RF 28-70mm is able to balance well on that kind of camera setup and gives me long shooting hours without the need to feel tired. As a wedding and event videographer as well as photographer, I think this lens makes a lot of sense, especially when you are doing a lot of video shooting for events, for weddings, for documentary style work. If you depend on one lens to handle most of the situations, this is a strong option, especially in challenging lighting situations. The Canon RF 28-70mm is amazing for its performance, for its great image stabilization, amazing performance in low light situation, great cinematic feel that you're going to get with it, incredible build. It is also great, especially in terms of focusing and autofocus performance. Smooth, accurate, precise. This is the lens that you need to get. And for the value to price proposition, the Canon RF 28-70mm is just really unmatched. So my final thoughts. After using the Canon RF 28-70mm f2.8 extensively for the past months for video, I can say it's a dependable workhorse. Paired with the Canon R6 Mark II, it handles night events, indoors, receptions, and outdoor scenes with confidence. It is built for real-world jobs, and this is why I have been using this lens as my main video lens since getting this. And I think that it is just a masterpiece of its kind. I really enjoy using the Canon RF 28-70mm, and I think that for value to price ratio, this lens is absolutely one of the best lenses that you can get on the RF mount system. If this video was helpful, subscribe for more real-world camera and lens review, and drop a comment if you are considering this lens or if you are already using this lens for video or photography. My name is Obeku, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Peace out.